Well, hello, everybody. This is Dean Mercado from the Dean Mercado Company and Online Marketing Muscle, and I'm here with a very special guest for you today. I have Scott Hartley. Scott Hartley is a serial entrepreneur who understands the challenges that small business owners like you and me face. He built his small town residential IT services company into a multi-six-figure business from scratch, combining his real-world experience with his never-ending thirst for knowledge. He now helps small business owners shortcut their path to success using time-tested marketing strategies and automation. I'd like you to all put a warm welcome together for our friend Scott. Scott, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, doing great, Dean. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Now, outside of what I know and what I just shared with everybody, is there any major thing that you would like people to know about you before we dig in and climb into your brain a little bit?
Well, I don't know that it's a major thing, but it's kind of something that most people don't know. But last year in May of 2022, I did have the opportunity to come to your wonderful city and perform on stage at Carnegie Hall. So was part of a national choir. So no, I'm not going to sing for you. You don't want to hear that, but it was definitely an experience of a lifetime for sure.
Fantastic. And that's not something that everybody and anybody can say.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
So why I felt it was important to get Scott into a conversation that all of you out there on the internet can listen to and check out. Scott is an expert in the email marketing side of things, and not just, oh, what do I write in this email? I don't know what to write in this to send it to so-and-so. Scott knows the nuts and bolts a lot more deeply than the majority do. So many a times we are questioning why our email marketing isn't doing as well as it should be or could be. And many a time it's not what you think. So we're going to climb a little bit into Scott's brain today and maybe see if we can get some questions answered and some thoughts out of him that might be able to help us, the everyday entrepreneur out there, raise our email marketing game. Does that sound good to all of you out there? And Scott, is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about this stuff.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to come right at you New York style. So
Okay.
get ready for this. My first question may sound ridiculous to you, right? But I get asked this question all the time, or I hear people say this as a definitive absolute all the time. Question: is email marketing dead?
A lot of people might think so, but it's really not. Truth be told, email is still the number one driver of sales for many businesses.
Right. Wow.
So
That's cool.
it's like, as overwhelming as we all get with emails, people are like, oh, surely it doesn't work anymore. There's a lot of junk. There's a lot of spam. My inbox contains 553 emails. Nobody's ever going to see mine in that sea of emails. So
right.
What's the use, right?
Right.
Why should I put the effort into it? And they automatically think that it's dead because they're just not getting the results that others really are. And like you mentioned, just a moment ago, there's a lot of different reasons for that. But email marketing is not dead, just like social media marketing is not dead. Direct mail marketing is not dead. Even yellow pages marketing is not dead. So it's all in how you use that particular media that you're using for your particular business.
So is it almost safe to say that maybe some of our own bad habits or our own bad practices might be reason to believe that this platform is dead when it's far from it? Is that accurate?
Yeah, and it goes into, not just the bad habits or the bad practices, but it also goes into what we don't know about what we don't know, which is what we're going to talk about today. So it's a mix of those things, right?
Right. Fantastic. So knowing this, and those of you who could see Scott on the screen, you'll see he has a book next to him out here called Hit the Inbox. Scott has recently released this book. I just checked it out myself. It's a very good read. It's a quick read, but it's a powerful read and worthy of you checking out and learning a little bit more. If you're going to do email marketing, do it great or don't do it, is what I always say. If you're not going to do it right, consider getting help or consider doing something else that you're going to be willing to put the effort into. So I have to ask you, Scott, all the things you could have been doing, right? You're a busy guy. You got a heck of a resume, a lot of stuff going on in your world.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you write this book? And why did you write this particular book now of all times?
Yeah. So I started kind of with my email marketing journey in my first business, my IT company, back in 2013. So I started using a software that's now known as Keep. It used to be called Infusionsoft. And I was kind of like fumbling my way through using that software and I was honestly just trying to figure out marketing in general for my business.
Right.
But one of the things that I learned was, reach out to your audience through email. And one of the very first campaigns that I did was an email broadcast to my list. And when I say broadcast, it was one email. So I broke all the rules of direct response marketing, because just as well as I do, you need to do at least a series of 3, but I only did one. But I sent an email to my list, and it was for a promotion for a PC tune-up service, twice a year PC tune-up service. And I was really surprised by the results that we got from that. I think I got like 19 people that signed up for that service just from the one email. And I was hooked. I was like, oh, this is like really cool. And now I'm sitting here like, all these years later, 10 years later, I'm thinking like, well, what kind of results would I have gotten had I actually done it correctly using direct response, marketing principles? But that's what got me hooked on it. And over the years, as I was learning and doing more email, and especially since 2018, in working with business owners of all industries. So I've worked with bakers, I've worked with attorneys, I've worked with, IT companies, I've worked with, you name it, I've probably worked with them. And I see that they're all doing email marketing, but they're all struggling with it. And here within the past several years, I really started diving into like more than just like the subject line and the copy of the email. What are the other things that we need to be aware of to make sure that our emails actually get delivered and seen so that we can get the results that we want from them? And as I started studying that and researching that, I was like, I didn't know this stuff back in 2013 when I started doing email marketing. And as I was having conversations with more business owners, I'm like, they don't know this stuff either. This is hindering them. They don't know what they don't know. And so I decided to put it into a really concise book. Like you said, it's a quick read. It's 76 pages. It's a fast read. And it gives you the essential nuts and bolts of the 4 things that you really need to know to have more of your emails hitting the inbox. And I mean, for me, my heart is with small business owners. And it's like, they need all the help that they can get. We need all the help that we can get. How can I provide this to them in an easy to consume, understandable, affordable way that they can take and immediately apply and start to get results?
And if I may add, just to editorialize just a moment for those of you out there that might be saying to yourself, well, I don't need to, this is heavy stuff. I don't need to learn this. You as the entrepreneur, as the owner of the company, in my opinion, and I've coached a lot of business owners over the years, we're not necessarily asking you to be the person doing this. Maybe it's somebody in your company. Maybe you need to know enough about it to be able to manage the process.
Absolutely.
So you know what's going on. So even if you have no intention of knowing the detail of the technology that Scott is laying out in this book, for somebody on your team to play out, it may not be you, the person doing it, and realize that it doesn't have to be you.
Right.
Somebody on your behalf, but you need to understand this to be able to manage the process, my opinion, if you're going to do email marketing.
And that brings up a good point. So I had a conversation with a lady earlier this week. She's actually enrolled in my Hit the Inbox service, to where we're helping, her improve her deliverability. And so she has problems with her current web host where her website is hosted.
Right.
And so I made a recommendation. I said, you really need to move your website over to this other hosting platform. She came back to me. She said, well, my web developer really recommends this. And my response is as much as you may love your web developer and as knowledgeable as he or she may be in designing websites, that person has no idea that if you move to that platform, you're going to eventually have the same problems that you have with your current platform. And here's why. And so, it could be somebody that, you may trust, another vendor. And if you don't know the things that I cover in my book, you're not going to be able to have these intelligent conversations with them and challenge them when it's appropriate. So it's very important, even if you aren't implementing, like you need to have some semblance of knowledge to be able to manage it.
So in other words, all email hosts or web hosts are not created equal. There's a very big difference, and some have different reputations.
Yep.
As well, as far as deliverability. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So what it is, and one of the things that I talk about in my book is you need to know when it's time to fire your web host, not your web designer. Okay.
Right.
You need to know when it's time to fire your web host. I had this situation back in, I think it was like May or June of 2022. And I had to fire my web host because the server that my website was on ended up being on what's called a block list. And what happened, every email that I sent, no matter what platform that I sent it from, if it contained a link to my website, if it was getting delivered to somebody that was using a Microsoft product to receive their emails, it went straight to junk or spam.
Wow.
They didn't even know that they got it. If I took out the link to my website, it went into their inbox. And it was all because of a bad actor. It wasn't anything that I had done. It was another bad actor on the same server that my website was on that was causing these problems.
Right.
And the thing is that, not only did I need to fire my web host, but it's only because I had the knowledge that I knew, like, wait a minute, there's a good portion of my list that's not seeing my emails. But if I didn't know that stuff, I'd just be like, well, these are my open rates. These are my engagement rates. There's nothing I can do about it.
Right. So for those of you out there, I hope you're grasping what Scott's sharing here, because not all web hosts are created equal. And for many of us, our web host is also our email host.
Yeah.
And understand that that's the case. And not every email host or web host has the same reputation out there, which means your email might not be being delivered, or you're going to the spam folders, and for a reason that you don't understand.
Yeah.
So checking out the real reasons and understanding what causes those things, not a bad idea to do, folks. So another question for you, Scott, is I can hear what they're saying out there. People are saying, well, this is all fun and great, Scott, but I don't have an email list. I only have 10 people on my list, 100 people on my list, or whatever the number is. Tell me about your list. Tell me about list building, the importance of list building it to a small business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we could talk about in list building. So number one, it doesn't matter the size of your list, but getting the practices in place, even if you just have 10 people or if you've got 1,000 people, that's really important. And the earlier, the better. I liken it to, it's easier to make sure that you've got the floor plans laid out and build the house the way that you want to have it built, as opposed to going back in and having to remodel it later.
Right.
So it's the same with your email marketing. It's better to set things up properly. So there's things called authentication. What I call, if you're driving down the email marketing highway legally or illegally, if you set those up right from the very beginning, when you're first getting started with email marketing, it can save you a lot of headaches down the road.
Yes. Oh, yes.
In addition to, to list building. So something else on that, you have to be very, very conscientious and careful about how you build your list and how you manage your list. All right.
Okay.
So there's two aspects to that. So one is the building of your list. it's so tempting to go out and buy email lists and put them into your CRM and start blasting them.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm just going to go buy this email list of these business owners that I really want to reach, and I'm just going to send them emails. That will hurt you quicker than almost anything else. Don't do it. Don't buy email. They need to opt into your list. So that's where, the omni-channel or the multi-channel marketing comes into play. Use social media, use direct mail, use other methods to lead them to an opt-in form where they can then provide their email address. Now you have permission to email them. Build your list the right way. Don't just automatically add somebody to your list and think it's okay. It's not, right?
Right.
So building your list is really important. And I go into a lot of details kind of on your list in the book, and a lot more than what we have time to cover here. The second piece of your list is also the management of your list. So Dean, have you maybe 10, 20 years ago signed up for an email address that you no longer use today?
Of course. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. We all have those. Sometimes, right. We create email addresses and then, maybe our name changes, or maybe, we don't like that one anymore, or whatever that it is. So we just abandon it. Well, here's the thing is you may have some of those abandoned email addresses in your database.
Sure.
Right? Mm-hmm. And if you continuously email those, that can actually hurt you. So when you're driving down the highway, we've all encountered this, but the state police and the county sheriffs, they like to set up what are called speed traps, right? So they hide away and they've got their radar out and they're waiting for somebody to whiz past them at 5 miles above the speed limit so that they can pull them over.
Right.
And, there's this whole debate, well, is that right or not? All that type of stuff. Here's the thing. Mailbox providers, so Gmail, Microsoft, and Yahoo, they do the same thing. They have things called spam traps. Okay. So with spam traps, there's several different kinds, but one is known as a pristine spam trap.
Right.
So it's an email address that has never been used. It's an email address that's been created by one of those mailbox providers, and it's hidden on websites. So it's not publicly known. If one of those email addresses ends up on your list and you email to it, that immediately tells the mailbox provider they're not managing their list. They're scraping the web for email addresses, and they're not getting the emails in a proper fashion. Boom, they slap you. That's bad.
Yeah, very.
Secondly, is that there are the other spam traps that are abandoned emails. So people used to use an email address, but they no longer use it. And instead of shutting the account down, the mailbox providers will keep it live. And so you continue to email it, and then you're not paying attention, well, is this person actually engaging with my email? And what that tells the mailbox provider is that you're not managing your list. You're not looking at your numbers.
Right.
And so that hurts your reputation as well. So those are a couple of key points with building and managing your list that are really important for people to know.
Now, is list building something that you do cover in the book?
List building is something that I cover in a small segment. I don't go deep into it. Obviously, that could be an entire book in and of itself.
Absolutely.
But some of the important points of that are covered in the book.
Fantastic. And while we're on the subject of what's in the book, help us understand what is in the book.
Sure.
What's in it?
Yeah. So a lot of different things. So I cover in there like the number one action that you can take to get more of your emails delivered to the inbox. We all want to know that, right?
Right.
Chapter number 1 tells you exactly what that is and how to achieve that. We also talk about, and we can go into this if you want to, is I also tell you why most email experts are wrong about the Google Promotions tab.
Absolutely.
Right?
Because I know a lot of people freak out over that.
They freak out over that, and they don't need to, right? one of the hot topics of email that we all like gravitate to when we talk about email marketing is like, what should my subject line be? What should the copy of the email be? I do talk about that in depth in chapter number 3 of the book. That is really important.
Oh, good. Excellent.
And so I give you some best practices that you can apply in your business on that. I also talk about the 3 pieces of identification that the mailbox providers look for to determine what they're going to do with your email. Because the truth is, nobody has to accept your email.
Correct.
Just because you click send doesn't mean that they're going to do anything with it.
Right.
And so there's 3 pieces of identification that you need to what I call drive legally on the email marketing highway. So that's all in chapter number 2. And then, I cover a whole lot more with that. We also talk about reputation. So just like you and I have a reputation in our personal lives and in our businesses, our email has a reputation as well. The platform that we use, whether it's Keep or MailChimp or something different, that has a reputation as well. And so that's covered in chapter number 4 of the book. And that's really like 4 chapters to the book. That's it. But you get all the essential things that you need to know in those 4 chapters.
Well, I think it's key. And as you break it down and you really think about which one of those are important or why is this stuff important, what you mentioned, I think you said in chapter 2, those 3 pieces of information are 3 things like that need to be set up and configured.
Yep.
Some people understand, folks out there, some of it can sound a little techie, can be a little techie, but you need to be able to ask whoever's setting this stuff up for you to make sure that these pieces are being set up and configured properly.
Yeah.
Because I also see a lot of people configure them incorrectly.
Yeah.
Very regularly. So that chapter alone, I thought was very worth the price of admission for the book, because that can make the difference between whether or not your emails are making their way to the inbox, whether or not that email is ever going to get open, whether or not you're going to make that sale based on that email. Right.
And the thing is that like nobody really knows about those things. That you need to set them up, because even when you sign up for an account with an email marketing provider, they typically don't tell you about that.
Right.
And so
exactly.
So you don't know about it. And then the worst part of it is that if you set it up wrong, it can actually have more damaging effects than if you don't have it set up at all.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely, indeed.
And the truth is, the research that I have done, 92% of small businesses that I know that do email marketing have at least one issue. Usually they have more, but they have at least one issue with those authentication records that's actually hurting them each time that they send an email out.
Wow. And the key is most people have no idea that they have those issues.
Exactly.
Right. So what do they do about that? I mean, how do clearly you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Most people are not going to know what they're looking for. So are we saying that people need to go out and hire somebody to take a look at this? What do they do?
Yeah. So like realistically, it's simply doing an audit, and I offer that as a service, as an audit. It's very inexpensive, but I can take a look at, do you have the proper authentication set up? What is your email health score? What does your overall email health look like? And what are the things that you can improve on? Because again, it's like we can feel healthy. We can, think everything's going on, but we may have something going on inside of us that like we're really not that healthy. But until we actually go get a physical checkup at the doctor or something like that, we don't really know. And it's the same with your email. Again, as small business owners, we're all wearing all these different hats. We have so many things that we have to do, people that we have to manage, projects that we've got to take care of, and clients that we have to serve, that like this isn't one of those things that's on the radar. And it needs to be, but we just don't know that it needs to be. And here's the thing. So, and I talk about this in the foreword to the book. So last summer, I reached out to 200 businesses that I had identified that they had problems with their email marketing. And I sent to them a direct mail letter, and I showed them in visual format, you have at least this one problem, and you probably have more. I would like to help you uncover what additional problems you may have and let you know what needs to be fixed. If you want me to do it, great. If you don't, if you want to take care of it on your own, that's great too. Here's the thing. Zero. Not a single one of them did anything about it.
Wow.
So what does that say?
Amazing.
So what does that say? That tells me that those of you who are listening to Dean and I have this conversation, if you take action, you're probably going to be among the 1% or the 0.5%.
Right.
That if you do this, this is going to make you stand out in the inbox because nobody else is going to do this stuff.
Right.
You know, you have a better chance of having results because you're one of the few that will actually take action.
Right. I mean, I think about, you know, how many marketing campaigns are being built and companies spending thousands and thousands of dollars putting together these campaigns, and those campaigns involve email marketing, but they never really checked out what the health of their whole email marketing situation is before they start firing off emails and wondering why their campaign is flopping.
Yeah.
Why it's not working.
Yeah.
Maybe a vital addition to any toolbox in terms of before you start launching a major campaign that involves email, maybe check out an audit.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea, folks. You know, have your situation audited. And I really resonate with the example you used with the doctors because, you know, as we get older, we're always having to go get ourselves checked out and make sure everything is still the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, before we engage in anything, you want to do a new exercise program, make sure you get checked out, make sure you're healthy enough to engage in this new program.
Yeah.
So before we spend thousands and sometimes tens of thousands on a new marketing campaign, let's make sure that the parts are functioning correctly.
Yeah.
And I'll in a few moments, I'll give an opportunity to share your information with some people if they want to get an audit done. We'll give them that idea of how to do that. Before I dive into that, though, I always like to press for just a little bit more.
Okay.
A little bit more. Now, we've already talked about a lot of best practices and a lot of things that are important. Without going into too much detail, right? Wet my whistle here in terms of best practices. Give me 3 things that I should do immediately.
3 things that you should do immediately. Number 1 is you need to make sure that you're looking at your numbers.
Okay.
If you're using, and even if you don't do an audit, every email marketing platform tells you how many people have opened your emails, how many people have clicked on links, how many people have unsubscribed, those type of things.
Right.
You need to know your numbers. That's fundamental business in anything, you know, just like with your finances, it's the same with your email marketing. So number 1, you've got to look at your numbers, and you need to look at them consistently. Okay. And note, you know, see if you can determine trends, right? It's going to be a little bit more manual work. If you do it, you know, based upon just the numbers that are in your CRM or your email marketing software, but at least it gives you an idea. So that's number 1. Number 2 is really give some thought and consideration to about how you're writing your emails. Okay. One of the things that I talk about in the book is why you need to ditch the email newsletter and what to send instead.
Really good. Good.
That's going to blow a lot of people's minds.
Right.
But it's all in how you approach the people that you're emailing.
Right.
And the key word that I just used there was people. You need to view your list as a relationship building tool, not as a sales tool.
Love that one. Let's say that one again. Could you? That is huge.
Your list needs to be viewed as a relationship building tool, not as a sales tool.
if you learn nothing else from what Scott has shared with you today, take that one away. Write it on your whiteboard in your office. Write it into your notes. Put it in front of you and put some thought into that, because nothing happens in business without people.
Yeah.
Everything is about relationships and your relationships to each individual person. And any of these points that Scott's making now can be looked at as a best practice or a worst practice if you flip it around the other way, right?
Right.
And so, in other words, if you're treating people like they're a number,
Yeah.
and not a person, you fail.
Yeah.
Your email marketing is not going to do so well.
Exactly. It makes all the difference in the world if you treat it like a relationship, as opposed to, just a transaction. And the third thing that I would say, and this one I talk about in the book, again, this one's going to get a lot of objections. So as soon as I say this, people are going to be like, Scott, can't do it, won't do it.
Right.
But you need to be emailing your list more frequently.
Nice. I like that.
You have to email your list more frequently. The days of emailing your list once a month or less are over. If you're only emailing your list once a month, don't email. Stop it.
Right.
It's actually hurting you than it is to keep up just emailing your list once a month. So those would be my three go-tos that I would say, that are really important takeaways, from today's call.
Fantastic. And again, like I said, all three of those can be flipped around to the worst case scenarios as well. So that's a lot to chew on, just those three. And that third point alone, what you're mentioning, I know you do go a little bit deeper into that in the book when you're talking about the frequency. And I love where you went with that in the book. Really important. But you're going to have to read it yourself, folks. You're going to have to get out there and check the book out. Definitely, even for that point alone, to understand about the importance of frequency.
Yeah.
Right. Very, very critical. So in respect for your time and wrapping up what we got going on here today, we covered a lot of ground. And I thank you for that, because this is a lot of great information in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Take this stuff seriously, folks. If you're going to do any kind of email marketing, do it right or don't do it. Get some help. It's help these days, not that ridiculously expensive to get help these days, to get some good insight. One good insight could land you that one client that pays for all of whatever you invest in your email marketing there. So, and I know there's a lot of experts out there that are all saying, just as Scott did, that email marketing is alive and well. It's just most of us suck at it. That's what it comes down to, right?
Yep.
So, first off, how can our listeners get a copy of your book? Very important. We need, they need to read this book. How do they get one?
Yeah. So it's right there on the screen. It's hittheinboxbook.com. So hittheinboxbook.com. You just go there. There's a big orange button that says purchase your book for $7. So there's really no reason that any business owner shouldn't be able to get access to this. $7 is nothing, right? It's a cup of coffee, maybe 2 days worth of coffee. This will have much better results for your business if you read it and then apply it. So hittheinboxbook.com. It's $7. I wanted to make it affordable because, again, my heart is with small business owners. I want to see all small business owners succeed. And sure, I could have charged way more for this, but I wanted to get the information in the hands of the people who need it the most. And this is the easiest way that I've thought of doing it. In addition, and I had somebody, I didn't even think of this when I put this together, but I had somebody point this out to me a couple of weeks ago. But in addition to the book itself, I'm offering a couple bonuses when you go get the book. So the book is going to help you get your emails delivered to the inbox. Okay. Bonus number one, once the email gets delivered, it needs to get opened, right? Well, what causes people to open an email? The subject line. So the first bonus is 143 attention-grabbing subject lines.
Nice.
So
very nice.
You got that. Once they open the email, now you need them to read it and take action on it, right? So the second bonus is my marketing messaging checklist, so that you can go through and identify, do you have the necessary things in your email copy to get people to take your desired action? Right. So for $7, you get email marketing in a box, how to get it delivered, how to get it open, how to get your reader to take action. Like, what more could you want?
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, really, any one of those things really can pays for itself and a heck of a lot more.
Oh,
When you
yeah,
start doing email marketing right, I know there's a lot of people out there that say that it really it could be it's a main driver of revenue for a lot of businesses, at least for the ones
absolutely.
that are doing it right.
Yeah.
So on top of the book, so folks, that was hittheinboxbook.com.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely check that out. Grab a copy of that book as soon as you can. If demand is out there and you want to talk more to Scott, how do they reach you? How do they find you?
Yeah, the best way to connect with me is you can email me, Scott at masterplan, the number 4success.com. Scott at masterplan, the number 4success.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm active on there, so you can send me a direct message. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Happy to interact with you there, answer any questions that you have. A lot of people have bought the book and they've reached out to me with just kind of like little questions that they've had. Happy to answer, some of those, because again, email marketing can be a very good revenue source for every business. It's just
Right.
knowing how to do it right.
Right. And one more before I let you go. We talked about the concept of getting an audit done,
Mm-hmm.
right? If somebody wants an audit and they want to hire you, let's say to get an audit done, how
Yeah.
do they get you for that?
So the same website, hittheinboxbook.com, if you go up to the very top in gray, there's a button that says request your audit. Now, as a little secret, I would recommend that you spend $7 to get the book, because
Right.
inside the book is a promo code to get $20 off of the audit.
Nice. Excellent.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the audit itself is $49. Okay. It's not
Oh,
expensive. So if you don't want to spend the $7 to buy the book, fine, I'll take your extra 20, and for $49, I'll do an audit on your app. But if you want to save $20, spend the 7 to save 20. You'll get the promo code in the book and tells you exactly how to request the audit.
so now with the audit, doesn't matter what platform they're using, what CRM they're using, what host they're using.
Great question. So we are limited to certain platforms that we can actually do the audit on and really give you some good results. So the top ones that we can do are Active Campaign, Aweber, GetResponse, HubSpot, Keep, Klaviyo, MailChimp, MailerLite, MaroPost, and Sendinblue. Those
Nice.
are like your most popular ones.
Your big
I know
ones.
you're not
Yeah.
going to remember that, so on the page it actually gives you the logos for the
Oh, cool. Yeah.
CRMs that we can actually do the audit for. But typically, if you're using a common platform for your email marketing, we can help you out with that.
Fantastic. Any parting words you'd like to leave the listeners with here today?
I would just say that in the book, that 3 of the chapters are rules that you have to abide by. Okay. If you're going to have success with your email marketing, 3 of the chapters are absolute rules that if
Right.
you're breaking those, it's going to hurt you. You're not going to
Right.
see the results that you want.
Right.
One of the chapters, chapter number 3, is filled with best practices. Marketing, as we all know, is testing, right?
Right.
And so when it comes to the copy and the content of your email, I can't give you definitive things that says, absolutely do this every time and absolutely don't do this every time. But
Right.
there are best practices that we've seen over the years and through studies that, like, doing it this way tends to get better results, but you need to test it for yourself in your business and with your list. And so understanding that is so helpful. What are the things that I absolutely have to do? What are the things that I have some wiggle room I can play around with and see what actually
Right.
works for me? That's the beauty of this, is that you kind of get what I call the art and the science of email marketing. And when you understand that, man, the results can just be amazing.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So it's hittheinbox.com, folks. Go out there, grab a copy. I read it. It's great. It's well worth your time reading. You may want to read it a couple of times because there's a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
Again, remember, it's about knowing what to do to manage the process. Doesn't mean you need to be the techie diving into all of this stuff. You know, the audit sounds like a steal as well, folks. Definitely worth you checking out if you have any doubt whatsoever about how your email marketing is performing or could perform, right?
Yeah.
If you're just not sure, hey, for that price, just get it checked out. Get it checked out, figure it out, and then you could just cross that off and say, okay, it's not a problem. Let's go ahead and let's get some email marketing rocking here.
Yep.
So hit the inboxbook.com. Scott, thank you. Thank you for all your insight today, your wisdom today. On behalf of the audience that's going to see this and hear this all over the different channels this is going to go out on. We appreciate you and we appreciate your time today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dean. I always love having conversation with you and being able to share and just kind of like go back and forth. Always some great insights.
Awesome, man. We'll talk soon. All right.
All right. We'll see you.
All right. Be well.